Whenever I think of Golden Sun and the many trials faced by Isaac, I find it incredibly difficult to tangibly define the protagonist as a singular being. While we play as Isaac, our best friend Garrett is always there with us as an additional Mars adept. Along the way, we meet the incredible Ivan, whose agility becomes unmatched as the story progresses, and of course, there's the unforgettable Mia, whose healing is substantially necessary for most of the game. However, this is my attempt to define the best and worst aspects in the game. Well, specifically about Isaac. Welcome to Heronalysis. Isaac's unwavering determination is the bedrock of his character and a driving force in the narrative, shaping both his heroism and the story's central conflict. From the moment his peaceful life in Vale is shattered by Saturos' attack, Isaac refuses to back down, embarking on a perilous journey to prevent the villains from unleashing alchemy's destructive power upon Wayard. What makes his resolve so compelling is that it never wavers, even when faced with betrayal, Felix's defection, or ambiguity, which is the Wise One's test, or seemingly insurmountable odds when he was climbing up the Venus Lighthouse. Unlike more conflicted protagonists, Isaac doesn't question whether his mission is worth the cost. His steadfastness provides a moral anchor for the party and the player. His determination is crucial to the story because Golden Sun is, at its core, a tale about responsibility and sacrifice. The world's fate hinges on whether Isaac and his allies can endure, and his refusal to falter even when others, like Felix, initially take darker paths reinforces the game's themes and perseverance and duty. His resolve also contrasts with antagonists like Saturos and Minardi, whose own determination is twisted by ruthless ambition, highlighting that true strength lies in fighting for others, not power. Without Isaac's unshakable will, the party might have fractured under pressure. Alchemy's return could have doomed Wayard, and Golden Sun would lose its emotional backbone, proof sometimes that the greatest power a hero can wield isn't synergy, but sheer, unrelenting will. Isaac's silent strength and leadership define his role in story, shaping both his companions' loyalty and the game's narrative tone. Unlike charismatic heroes who rally with others with speeches, Isaac leads through quiet resolve. His actions speak louder than words, reinforcing his reliability in moments of crisis. This trait is vital in a story where trust is fragile. After Felix's betrayal, Isaac doesn't waste time on grand declarations, but instead proves his leadership by steadfastly protecting his friends and shouldering the weight of their mission. His silence isn't emptiness, it's deliberate choice that amplifies his presence. When Isaac stands firm against Saturos and endures the Wise One's trials or reunites with Felix in the Lost Age, his lack of dialogue forces others and the player to interpret his strength through subtle gestures, a determined stance, a protective act, or an unyielding commitment to the journey. This makes him a unifying force. Garrett's hot-headedness, Ivan's doubt, Mia's compassion all find balance under Isaac's calm guidance, showcasing that true leadership isn't about dominating others but inspiring them through consistency. In a world where alchemy's revival could spell doom or salvation, Isaac's silent resolve becomes the moral compass. His refusal to waver or grandstand makes him the steady hand that guides Wayard's fate. Without this trait, Golden Sun would lose its grounding. Isaac's quiet authority is what makes the party's triumphs feel earned, proving that sometimes the strongest leaders are those who listen, act, and let their courage speak for itself. Additionally, his moral integrity and balanced judgment serve as the ethical foundation of the world at large, distinguishing him as a hero who weighs consequences rather than acting on impulse or dogma. While other characters like the vengeful Saturos or the conflicted Felix are driven by personal motives, Isaac consistently prioritizes the greater good. Even when faced with ambiguity, this is most evident in his confrontation with the Wise One's trials. Where others might blindly obey or rebel, Isaac pauses to question the morality of lighting the lighthouses, proving he values wisdom over blind duty. His ability to balance mercy with resolve also defines key moments, such as when he spares Felix despite his betrayal, recognizing that his old friend's intentions weren't purely malicious. This nuanced judgment is critical to the story because in Golden Sun, it isn't just a simple battle of good versus evil, it's a narrative about responsibility, where the revival of alchemy could save or doom this world. Isaac's refusal to succumb to extremes, unlike the reckless Proxians or overzealous Jupiter Adepts encountered in the first game, positions him as a stabilizing force in the conflict. His integrity also earns him unlikely allies. Felix's eventual cooperation hinges on Isaac's willingness to trust rather than condemn, proving that his principled approach bridges divides in a tale where power corrupts and desperation clouds judgment. Isaac's unwavering ethics remind both the party and the player that true heroism lies not in strength alone, but in the wisdom to wield it justly. Without this trait, the story will lose its moral depth, reducing its conflicts to mindless battles rather than nuanced exploration of duty, sacrifice, and the cost of salvation. Isaac's loyalty to his friends is the emotional core of this narrative as well, transforming his journey from a mere quest into a testament of unbreakable camaraderie. Unlike traditional heroes who might prioritize glory and personal vendettas, Isaac's strength lies in his unwavering devotion to those who fight beside him. Garrett's brashness, Ivan's vulnerability, and Mia's compassion once again are not just tolerated, but they're valued to the overall effort, creating a party dynamic where each member feels protected and respected. This loyalty is most powerfully tested when Felix, his childhood friend, defects to Saturo's side. While lesser protagonists might respond with bitterness, rejection, or violence, Isaac's actions continue to reflect a quiet hope for reconciliation, culminating in their eventual alliance in the Lost Age. His steadfastness even extends to rivals like Jenna and Creighton, proving that his trust isn't easily shattered or by betrayal or circumstance. This trait is vital to the story because Golden Sun hinges on unity. Alchemy's revival requires collective effort, and Isaac's ability to inspire loyalty ensures that fractures in the group never become permanent. His friendships also humanize the narrative when the world's fate hangs in the balance. It's not abstract duty that drives the party forward, but the tangible bonds they share. In a genre dominated by solo heroes, Isaac's reliance on dedication to his companions makes Golden Sun's triumphs feel real through solidarity rather than sheer force. Without this loyalty, the story would lose its heart, reducing its conflicts to cold, impersonal struggles, rather than standing against the darkness, whatever it may be. Another thing is that Isaac's adaptability and problem-solving prowess make him an indispensable leader throughout the journey, allowing him to navigate the game's intricate challenges with a blend of tactical ingenuity and calm resourcefulness. Unlike rigid heroes who rely solely on brute force, Isaac thrives in dynamic situations, whether deciphering ancient synergy puzzles, adjusting to sudden betrayals, or improvising strategies in battle. His adaptability shines in moments like in the Mercury Lighthouse climb, where he leverages his Earth based synergy creatively, using move and growth to manipulate the environment around him, demonstrating that his strength lies not just in the power he has, but in applying it intelligently. This trait becomes even more crucial when his party facing unpredictable foes like Saturo's shifting alliances or the Wise One's morally ambiguous trials. Where others might panic or act impulsively, Isaac assesses, recalibrates, and presses forward. Once again, his problem solving also extends to interpersonal conflicts, such as reconciling with Felix once again, where the fractured history all the way back in Vale. Isaac's flexibility ensures that the party never remains stagnant. He evolves alongside each challenge, embodying the game's theme that progress requires both strength and wisdom. Without this adaptability, Golden Sun's labyrinthine dungeons and moral dilemmas would feel insurmountable, reducing the narrative to a series of dead ends. Isaac's knack for turning obstacles into opportunities reinforces that true heroism isn't just about enduring, it's about thinking ahead, staying versatile, and forging paths where none seem to exist. Isaac's lack of expressed personality and limited character development, which is a byproduct of his role as a silent protagonist, stands as one of his most significant weaknesses, which for some can undermine the emotional depth of this game's experience. While his stoic demeanor reinforces his image as a resolute hero, the absence of personal dialogue or introspection at all leaves him feeling more like a vessel for the player's projection than a fully realized character with unique motivations and flaws. This becomes particularly noticeable in pivotal story moments where, like Felix's defection or the Wise One's test once again, become prevalent. And then when Alchemy's revival hangs in the balance, where Isaac's silence kind of deprives the audience of his genuine reactions, it makes his choices feel passive rather than deliberate. Unlike dynamic characters such as Felix, whose conflicted loyalties and personal stakes add layers to the narrative, Isaac's emotional neutrality can make his journey feel and seem impersonal, reducing the weight of his sacrifices and triumphs. This weakness is especially consequential in the overall themes for Golden Sons of friendship and moral ambiguity. Without hearing Isaac's internal struggles or vocalized bonds with his companions, his relationships and the stakes of their mission feel really superficial. While some players may project themselves into his blank slate status, others may find it hard to invest in a protagonist who doesn't express fear, doubt, or passion in a story brimming with both existential threats and heartfelt alliances. In a series where the party's unity and convictions are central, Isaac's silence occasionally muffles that. The emotional resonance pays the price. So, when it comes to his unspoken heroism, it still carries the plot forward, but the story might have burned brighter with a protagonist who spoke as powerfully as he acted. Isaac's over reliance on physical strength shows a subtle but significant character flaw that impacts both the gameplay dynamics and narrative depth throughout the game itself. As a Venus adept, Isaac naturally excels as the party's physical powerhouse, often crushing enemies with devastating Earth based synergy and brute force attacks. However, this strength becomes a narrative crutch that limits his growth. While characters like Ivan must develop clever strategies with wind magic, or Mia learns to balance offense with her healing abilities, Isaac rarely needs to evolve beyond hit harder as a strategy. This combat specialization mirrors his broader characterization, Just as he defaults to smashing through physical objects with force or lift, he often approaches moral and strategic challenges with similar straightforwardness, lacking the nuanced adaptability of more versatile story characters. In a story where the wise use of alchemy requires balance and restraint, Isaac's tendency to overpower problems rather than outthink them creates an interesting tension. He's simultaneously the hero that Weyard needs and a reflection of the very imbalance the villains threaten to unleash. His physical dominance ironically makes him less equipped to handle situations requiring diplomacy, deception, or compromise, forcing other characters like Felix and Jenna to fill those narrative roles. This weakness becomes most apparent when he's in the Wise One's trials, where pure strength proves inadequate against tests requiring wisdom and introspection. Had Isaac been forced to develop beyond his combat prowess, perhaps by confronting failures that couldn't be helped with force or learning to value his allies' diverse strengths, his arc could have been better embodied in Golden Sun's central theme that true power requires harmony of all elements, not just one. Also, when you look at his minimal backstory, vague personal motivations, or his minimal development with other characters and their relationships, they represent a potentially critical weakness, leaving his heroic journey feeling more generic than genuinely compelling. Unlike Felix, whose actions are fueled by the desperate desire to save his family and redeem his past mistakes, Isaac is given no such personal stakes. His motivation begins and ends with protecting Vale and stopping Sartoros, goals that feel more like obligations than deeply felt convictions. This lack of personal history or emotional drive makes it difficult to fully invest in his character, as the story never reveals what truly matters to him beyond the abstract greater good. We know nothing of his family. Are his parents alive? Did he lose someone in Saturos' attack? His dreams or his fears? Which makes his determination feel robotic rather than earned. In a narrative filled with characters who grapple with loss, identity, and moral complexity, Felix's redemption arc to Ivan's search for his heritage, Isaac's blank slate status leaves him overshadowed, a hero who reacts to the plot rather than shaping it through personal desire. This weakness is especially glaring in The Lost Age, where Felix's emotional stakes take center stage, reducing Isaac to a mere obstacle in his former friend's path. Had Isaac been given a richer backstory, perhaps survivor's guilt from the Mount Aleph disaster or personal connection to the alchemy's legacy, his choices would have carried greater weight, and his clashes with antagonists like Saturos or the Wise One could have resonated on both a philosophical and personal level. Without these intimate motivations, Isaac's heroism, while admirable, lacks the visceral urgency that defines most of the memorable RPG protagonists, making Golden Sun's world-saving narrative feel more like a checklist than a deeply personal odyssey. Despite his narrative limitations, Isaac succeeds as Golden Sun's protagonist by embodying the timeless archetype of a steadfast hero, unshaken in duty, pure in intent, and unwavering in the face of cosmic stakes. His silent strength and moral clarity provide a necessary anchor in a story brimming with moral ambiguity, ensuring the player always has a reliable compass amid the chaos of shifting alliances and world-altering choices. While his lack of expressiveness or personal backstory may leave some longing for deeper complexity, these traits ultimately serve the game's classic JRPG spirit, where the protagonist functions as both avatar and ideal. Isaac's greatest strength lies in what he represents, an incorruptible force of perseverance whose very presence elevates those around him and he may not undergo dramatic growth, but he doesn't need to. His role is to endure, to unite, and to remind both his party and the player that some heroes are defined not by words or flaws, but by the weight of the burdens they carry without faltering. In a saga about balance and restoration, Isaac's quiet, resolute nature becomes its own kind of magic, one that holds the story together when more volatile forces threaten to tear it apart. He is, in the end, exactly what Golden Sun needs, a hero who lets his actions speak for him and whose legacy is written out not in personal glory, but in a world he saves by simply refusing to yield. Thank you so much, dear viewer, for listening. Please subscribe, share, comment telling me what you want to see discussed in the future. Goodbye.